Today, I am with Jackie Freiberg. She is a leadership coach and a sought after, renowned author as well of 9 award winning books. 2 I'm super fascinated with and will definitely be sharing with you. But first, I just want to welcome you to the stage, Jackie.
Delighted to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you for spending your hard-earned time with us. I know we're going to dive in to some real gems, and this audience is going to really be able to go there with us. So I'm excited to get started. Your books, you've got 9 of them. I just would like to really touch on 2 of them really quickly, and that is Nuts. And I'd love to know how you came up with that name, what that's about, and Life by Design, 7 Principles for Success and Significance. I think that there's a real gem in just that name alone. So where did these books derive from within you, and why did you feel like it was important to write them?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking. I would tell you that my passion and love for leadership drove them. I've been probably a student of leadership since I was 7 years old. My dad would invite me out on dates, and he would talk to me about business, even though I didn't necessarily know we were talking about business. He was planting the seeds of leadership in me at a very, very young age. That said, he would talk to me about really gifted, great bosses, and then really bad bosses. And he treated me as an adult, even at 7 years old. And whether I was aware of it back then or not, he really did inspire me to have a passion and a love for leaders and leadership. That said, went to graduate school. My husband and I both decided that we were going to really try and dig deep into leadership. And we discovered a company that was founded in Texas, and you know Texas, the company is called Southwest Airlines. And we learned early on that was a notable, noble, really worthy company to learn more about because of the leadership that founded it, and then the innovative service and strategy practices that helped create it. We went to Southwest, knocked on their door when we were graduate students, I mean literally doctoral students, and said, we think your story is worth writing about. We want to write dissertations. They let us come in and write dissertations. We both wrote dissertations that were like 7 inches thick. Nobody besides our committees in the academic environment were going to read them. So about a year later, we collapsed both of our dissertations, and we asked Southwest Airlines once again if we could come back and write a popular press book. We did that. We spent countless hours with Herb Kelleher, Colleen Barrett, who we've lost both of them in the last few years, but they were really notable founders of an airline that has, pretty much become a world phenomenon. They are the most profitable airline in the world, really. And so they've got some principles and some secrets that people wanted to know about. We wrote about them, though. This was 28 years ago, when everybody wanted to know their secret and their story. That book launched us. We talked about leadership, we talked about service, we talked about innovation, and the title of the book was really based, which is your big question, was really based on the fact that the only meal they served was a bag of peanuts. So the title of the book.
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the title of
I
the book.
lost a tooth once upon a time.
On a peanut?
Yes, because I guess the air pressure or something. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh gosh, sorry about that. Anyway, the book was titled Nuts, Southwest Airlines' Crazy Recipe for Business and Personal Success. That book became an international bestseller. And then that gave us entree into a lot of other organizations that we identified as best places to work. They were recognized as best places where the best people wanted to work. those best people wanted to do really good, worthy work, and they wanted to make their corner of the world a little bit better. That's where we started, and that's where we still remain today.
Well, you obviously made a difference at Southwest because they are set apart when it comes to their personability. Like I've got friends who have really just, kind of endless pockets, and they will choose Southwest even though they don't have first class and business class, and, they don't have kind of maybe some of the fancier setups that some of the other airlines do, but you feel like you're with friends. And that has continued on. They've really kept that even after all. Flying used to be fun, right? Not so fun anymore. It's just a different world. Having to go through, as North Americans anyway, we really never had to go through what other countries had to go through just to get onto an airplane. And now we do. And you're basically stressed out by the time you actually get to be able to sit down and wait to be called onto the airplane. But when you're with Southwest, there's just this feeling that they actually like you. And I would like to say that you probably had something to do with that.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to claim that kind of fame and that kind of imprint, impact. I would say it was really Herb Kelleher, Colleen Barrett, who were, leaders that we couldn't get enough of.
Mm-hmm.
If Herb was a strategist and a brilliant people connected
Yeah.
guy, leader, Colleen she was the one that made sure every detail was every I was dotted, every T was crossed. She was also recognized within the company as not just someone that knew the details, but she was also recognized, and her claim to fame within the company is she was noted as the Queen of Hearts. So she really was the person behind the culture that made them so notable, the service strategy that was really all about serving people in a positively outrageous way. I would
Yes.
say, and what we had the freedom and the honor to do is we had the chance to go in, and even though dissertations and doctoral work had given us, full year of research and heavy duty, deep connection, and broad as well, we also spent another year, and we spent one day every month for an entire year with Herb and Colleen, just learning about the nuances of how they started the company, how they're running the company. We talked to people at GE who provide the engines. We talked to people at Boeing who work with them to design the aircraft. We talked to people in competitive places. So they gave us full entree. And I would say I wouldn't want to take anything at all away from them in terms of it was us. They did it. We got to document it. That was the beauty of it.
Yes. Well, and they had to be open to you for a reason. And there is a reason that you have been dubbed of the top 30 best minds on leadership. I mean, that's pretty astounding. There's a lot, I don't know, probably countless. I would venture to say hundreds of thousands, if not in the millions, of those who boast being a leadership consultant or a leadership expert, and you are dubbed in the top 30. So you've got that connection piece. In my book, you're not a leader until you really understand how to connect. If you can't connect, it's a dictatorship, right? It's a little bit different than actually leading people who want to be there and who can really get your vision across. So what amazing work. I can't imagine what it would have been like, especially coming right out of kind of just stepping right into that world and getting the doors open by a company like that, open to listening to your ideas.
Yeah. Well, it was quite the honor, and it really did set us up for the opportunity to talk to a lot of other business leaders and a lot of other companies that are recognized also as great places to work, and companies that are doing some really innovative things. And that launched us into a career where we really did vet companies that were recognized as truly incredible employers of choice. And then we started writing our books, our series of books on those kinds of companies. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we realized is, everybody wants to be a great leader. Everybody wants to be a gifted leader, but unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of organizational safety nets that allow people to learn the kinds of skills that are just what you described, people connecting skills. Most organizations that we work with, that we have gotten to know, that we have either coached, consulted with, or even had speaking opportunities with, they promote people into leadership positions because of a gift that they might have in sales, a gift that they might have in technology, a gift that they might have in any kind of engineering place. They're gifted at what they do in terms of some technical competence. And then all of a sudden, because of their giftedness in that space, they get promoted to, guess what? Manage and lead people. And that's a very different skill set. And so we expect that people are just going to automatically know how to connect. And that's not always true. We have a lot of gifted performance, productive, driven, and guided people, yet they're not quite as gifted and comfortable connecting with people.
Yes. Well, you got good at what you did, right? And you and your husband working together, I think that's fabulous. At what point did something click in your head and cause you to get your voice onto stages? Were you like, okay, we have this company, I need to get the word out, I'm gonna utilize stages for that? Or were you wanting to supplement your income? Was it a hybrid of all of that or none of it? What was the journey to the stage for you?
Well, the journey to the stage, really, it was kicked off by the books that we wrote, because the books that we wrote were describing great leadership, which I just described as a deficit in many organizations, great cultures. A culture is as much the will of the people as it is the will of the leaders, those in high level, C-suite positions. Everyone has to own the culture because it has to come to life, top, bottom, and middle of organizations. We wrote about books that were noted as, we wrote about companies that were noted as great service providers. And so I think what happened is people were realizing that we were pretty knowledgeable, and we had an outsider's perspective, but an insider's perspective as well to a lot of companies. And so we were invited in to speak to what are some of those leadership and business best practices that we could borrow from. Not take lock, stock, and barrel, by the way, but how could we borrow from them as well? And then how could we enhance our leaders? How could we enhance our culture? How could we enhance our service strategy and become far more innovative in the spaces that we operate in?
So did it start with your publicist saying, hey, you've got this book, I need you to get on stages? Or was that something that you aspired to do?
It wasn't something that I aspired to do. It was something that I learned to do. And I think it was something that happened organically. I'm very grateful that it happened like it did. But when the book started becoming, Nuts became an international bestseller, everyone wanted to have us in. I wouldn't say everyone, that's a gross exaggeration, so forgive me for that. But we had a lot of speaking requests and invitations to come and share the principles that we wrote about in the book. That's how it's happened. Our books have become the calling card that then, organizations will invite us in to say, okay, yeah, we'd like to learn a little bit more about leadership. We want to learn a little bit more about service. We want to learn about culture, engagement, innovation. Or, recently we're finding that so many organizations are really realizing that it's not enough to just be profit driven. You have to be purpose driven as well. And you'll see one of the books that's behind me is the title of it is Cause, and it's a business strategy for standing out in a sea of sameness. Organizations are always looking for ways to stand out in a sea of sameness and differentiate themselves in the marketplace. And part of its leadership, part of its culture, part of its values, part of its service strategy. And then it's also a cause, a mission, a purpose that causes them to say, we don't just make money, we make money, which is important. We have people who work with us and for us who are really great and gifted performers. And, oh, by the way, we're actually having an impact in the community that we're serving. We're making a difference in the world. We're moving the needle in that direction too.
Okay. Oh gosh, so much goodness there. So did it start with you were kind of drawn in because of the books into corporate trainings, and then from there you did more bigger stages, motivational leadership talks? What was that journey, and what do you, Jackie, enjoy the most?
Oh, it was both and. There's no straight line to from where I was to where I am. I'm going to tell you, it's just like life. It has, as much as you'd love it to go this way, it goes this way.
Yes. Peaks
And
and
then
valleys, peaks and valleys.
it dips down and then it goes back
Spaghetti
up.
bowls.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the journey. The journey was it was big stages in the very beginning. Then it went to, well, wait, maybe we could have more of an impact if it wasn't big stage where you've got an hour or 90 minutes or maybe even 45 and that's it. But maybe it's doing some in-house, really deep consulting work where you actually help an organization create their leadership pillars. And from their leadership pillars, what values are going to guide and drive your behaviors of all of your people. And then, what is the cause that the mission that people are going to, attach themselves to, in addition to just, the what and the how they do every day. It's how do you connect what you do, all your roles and responsibilities, and how, the boundaries within which you're performing, to a why, a cause or a calling that's really important and really meaningful. And that's what gives you an extra spring in your step. And that's what inspires and empowers and informs the what and the how. So it has been all over the map in terms of big stages, coaching to one-on-one coaching to executive teams, and then in-house workshops where we get the chance to really empower and enable and equip people with the kinds of strategies that will help them lead and manage their departments and their teams with some very specific skill sets, leadership skills.
I believe, now I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I believe a truly excellent sought and soon to be sought after, if they're not already, speaker understands how to bridge their talk, right? Their principles that they're bringing to the stage with, if you're a corporate speaker, with the culture and the values of that particular organization. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Absolutely. I think a lot of speakers have a shtick. They have their theme, their niche, their lane. And, I think one of the things that we have prided ourselves on is saying, we believe that leadership is a skill that can absolutely impact the quality of life at work and the quality of life at home. And leadership is a skill that can be developed. It can be trained. it can be measured, it can be observed, uh, and it can be developed over time. And so what we tend to do is we tend to go into an organizational setting or even into, a keynote opportunity. And we always say, tell us how you have defined leadership up to this point. Tell us the values that are driving your organization. Tell us what major overarching theme you want to really deeply root in the hearts and minds of the people that are going to be at this event or for this particular quarter or this particular year. And then we work with that team, that executive team, or that conference team to make sure that we are bringing them content that is going to help them achieve their desired outcomes. We're not going to come in and say, hey, let us just take what we know to be true and impart it and plant it on you. Because oftentimes people come with their own values. They have their own guiding principles. They've got their own mission. They know what the goals are and what the strategy is. They simply want us to help advance and inspire and challenge and equip their people to do it more focused and more intentional.
Oh gosh. Okay. So much brilliance there. And I absolutely love that you don't just show up with your talk. You're obviously, you've got your 9 books, you have your content down, right? You could just show up with your talk, give your talk, head out, grab your check, head out. But that you actually take that extra time, which you don't have to. It's not, I'm sure it's not in the contract, right? To really, number one, always, this is a big one for me anyway, study the company or study the organization that you're going to be, know who the audience is going to be, right? But that you go that even further than that, where you sit down at the table with the whoever, right? With whatever leadership in the company. How have you been doing leadership? What is your vision?
Oh, yeah.
So good.
It's not just how have you and what is your vision, but it's where are the gaps?
Mm-hmm.
What are you sensing people are in need of? What are the biggest challenges? And then what we do is we work collaboratively. I like to say our approach is to design with our client and for our client. So the with is rolling up our sleeves, getting to know them to the degree that, they'll invite us in and open and expose and, lift off the blinders and tell us what's really going on. So we get to know them, we work with them, and then we walk away and we say, okay, here's what we suggest would be the best strategy for this workshop, this coaching relationship, or this keynote.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel like if you would have just claimed shy, right? Claimed I'm not interested in speaking in front of, definitely not on big stages. My husband isn't. We don't really want to do that. But instead you embraced it and you got yourself on stages and got your voice out there, even when it wasn't maybe second nature, it wasn't comfortable in the beginning. What impact do you feel that had on your brand, your company, and just the direction of where you went? And obviously you're high success at this point and only growing. What did your voice, did getting out of your comfort zone and speaking, what kind of impact did that have?
Oh, yeah. I'd say it had a huge impact. I will tell you that this whole concept of being comfortable speaking, I love speaking now, but I only love it because I've learned how to do it. That is a skill. Presentation skills. There's a reason why we call it presentation skills. It is a skill that, just like leadership, it can be trained, it can be developed, it can be measured. I have been teaching presentation skills at the University of San Diego for doctoral students and master students every January for probably 15 years.
Wow.
Before that, we had a contract with the United States Marine Corps where we would train Marines who were shoulder tapped to go on recruiting duty. We would train them how to give speeches and do a special duty assignment of being a Marine Corps recruiter. And we have a tried and a tested process for transforming someone who says, I have public speaking anxiety. That is a real thing. Believe it or not, 85% of our population has some level, either low, moderate, or high public speaking anxiety. And it doesn't matter if it's low, if it's moderate, or if it's high. That will hold you back. And that doesn't have to be the case. So we have a process. We have a whole line of business. It's called Speeches Made Simple. And we know how to equip people with the tools, the resources, the training, the methodology that can transform their ability to speak in front of a group, whether it's a small group or a large group. I can transform someone in 2.5 days. I promise you I can.
I am one of
So
those people.
I can do that because it happened to me.
Because you went through it. Yeah.
I went through it in graduate school. I went through it, and the beginning, it's not easy. It's an uncomfortable journey. But just like public speaking, leadership should be and is an uncomfortable journey, because you have to get uncomfortable doing it, trying it, testing it before you get comfortable. It's a learned practice of discomfort.
A learned
Both
practice
leadership
of
and
discomfort.
presentation skills.
Ah, so good. I'll tell you, I think I'm such a, I think I've really excelled as an agent because I want that excuse to not have to get on stages myself. I'm putting so many people, other people on these amazing stages because I don't necessarily love doing it myself. And so I love that people like you are out there who were maybe where I am or where I've been, and they're willing to impart what got them over that. And now you actually can verbalize that you love speaking. Absolutely adore that. So what would you say, what are the life what are the life and work trends that an emerging speaker might need to really understand to be a leader in that, in what they're intelligent in, but getting their voice out there?
Well, I think there are a couple of different trends that people probably should be aware of, and I think there are work trends and there are life trends. And let's just tackle the work trends first. I think two big work trends that we're all up against right now is digital transformation. Whether it's digital threads, whether it's digitization of everything and automation of everything and AI and, all of the resources and access that we have to digitization of all things. That's one huge trend. And I think that is, it can either scare you or it can accelerate you. And I think the other big business trend, and it's not anything new, it has everything to do with what we've been talking about for most of our time together so far, and that's leadership. Leadership will never go away, and leadership is that one human quality that will allow for all others if we're doing it the right way. And so I think we need to get better at embracing the technology that's out there through courageous leadership. So we embrace what we cannot and will never be able to do as well as technology. But then we also completely and fully embrace any quality that cannot be digitized or automated. And there are certain qualities that will never be digitized or automated. And those qualities happen to be imagination, creativity, intuition, empathy, emotion, and ethics. Those are human only qualities. And the people that are the best and the most gifted at those human only qualities are courageous leaders, because courageous leaders will always, always be tough on standards. So they will know what automation, what digitization, what high tech features and abilities are out there, and they're going to embrace it with everything they have. But they absolutely know that they also approach the people in their lives and in their workspace with not just a tough mind for standards, but a tender heart with the people. And those are the human only qualities. So I think that those two things are what we're up against in the workplace. And then I think that in the personal space, which actually does leak over to the business space, I think we have to realize that this country and a lot of the world actually is in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. And you know, we've got to take notice of that. Everyone's saying that, you know, the future remains uncertain, and it's hard to see clearly what's going on out there. People are saying, I want to continue to work remote, or I want it to be hybrid. I'm not sure that I want to be completely on site. And so what's happening is we are being further and further removed from one another in the press the flesh kind of sense. And that's not doing anything for the loneliness epidemic. So great, courageous leaders who know the importance of leaning into their human only qualities will get good at realizing, how are my people doing? You know, we've lost the art of visiting. And my husband grew up in South Dakota, and the art and the practice of visiting was a weekly occurrence. You know, you'd hop in the car and you'd drive from one ranch to the next, and you'd knock on someone's door with the whole family, you know, in your midst, and the neighbors would open the door and they'd pull out a pie and pull out the coffee and the tea, and they'd visit. But they got to know each other. They pressed the flesh. They asked, you know, good, high quality questions. I don't think we're doing that these days in life, and I don't think we're doing that at work. And I think that is problematic. I think we need to do something to figure out our loneliness epidemic. And I think the other trend that's happening personally and professionally is there's a time warp that's going on in life. A lot of us don't realize, but 70% of us will suffer some sort of unexpected event in our life, whether that's an injury, whether that's an illness, whether that's some sort of job or professional disruption that we didn't anticipate. And most of those unexpected events will challenge us, personally for sure, psychologically perhaps, emotionally absolutely, and financially yes, yes, and yes. And so we have to realize how we're spending our time. And I think it's between the ages of 30 and 60. Who would you think we spend the majority of our time with? Between the ages of 30 and 60. Who would you think?
Work, ourselves.
Work.
Yeah.
You nailed it. It's work. And if you're in that space, right? And you're spending the majority of your time with the people you work with, think about what we also know to be true. We become the average of the 5 people that we spend the majority of our time with. How's that working for you? If you look around and you're really intentional about the people that you're spending time with, are those people drawing really great, good things out of you, or are they dragging you down?
Right.
Lots. We could spend a podcast on each one of those things: leadership, digitization, time, and loneliness.